And someone explain to me how Curt Schilling's not a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. Explain this to me. People don't like him because of a tweet?
Big Papi into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Bonds and Clemens, while they were getting closer and closer to that threshold, and it kept building year after year, they've reached their 10-year limit. They're left off the Hall of Fame ballot again this year. They didn't make the threshold. So they're not in the Hall, and the great Baseball Hall of Fame debate continues for those two and many others from the steroid era. But a question first about David Ortiz. If he's not the last, he's got to be one of the last designated hitters that will be in the Hall, right? Like a true DH.
81% of his starts were as a DH, and the only one close to that was Edgar Martinez, who was like 68% over his career in recent years, which is crazy to think about. Paul, you're the resident Red Sox hater. What do you think about David Ortiz as a Hall of Famer?
Well, I mean, I hate that a Red Sox gets in, and I hate him. But I think he's worthy, though. I do have a DH, DH dissatisfaction because you're only playing half the game, and I think you have to be, super tremendous at your half of the game to discount not playing any defense.
And he was.
Did he do that? I think you can argue, yes.
I mean, his numbers are up there with the legends of the game.
His postseason stuff in particular, incredibly impressive. But I disagree with you, Hut, because we're going to come out of this labor stoppage with a universal DH, and 1/9 of offensive baseball players are going to be DHs. It's going to extend careers for people. And the best offensive players who are the most lumbering guys are going to play a lot of DH or be career DHs. And I think they're going to follow in the pathways of Edgar Martinez and Papi.
Best hitters in the game right now, I want in the field as well, though. I mean, Bryce Harper's playing the field.
Yes, but there are going to be guys like Edgar Martinez and Papi.
Very prolific.
I just don't see those dudes.
If Bryce Harper or somebody like
guys,
that ultimately winds up with a bad knee, or Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, but Paul, you're missing the point. I'm saying the vast majority of the career is a DH. You're saying at the end of their career they turn into just the DH.
Well, Giancarlo Stanton is a Hall of Fame caliber player now, and the vast majority of his career he's been a DH.
Vast majority of his career he was in with the Marlins in the National League, so he was playing a position. That's not a vast majority of his career.
He's going to wind up with the majority of his career being a DH. I think there's going to be plenty of guys who are vast majority of their career a DH because it's for bad reasons. It's for the same reason that pitchers are bad hitters, because they are slotted as supreme hitters who aren't gifted fielders, and instead of developing them as gifted fielders or forcing them, they're early GMs or managers are going to say, well, I've got a spot for you, and we don't have to make you work at it.
But
we can just slot you in the lineup.
I mean, he spent 8 years with the Marlins. He's been 4 years now with the Yankees.
More than I expected. It's not going to be the vast majority.
So even if he has another 4 years with the Yankees, that's half and half.
Yeah.
It's 81% of his starts.
Right. I think it's hard to find now.
I mean, you're not going to find many guys like that.
The next guy like that won't be in the field.
Well, and so now let's get into the steroid stuff, because all of a sudden, there was this one test that was done by Major League Baseball that even Rob Manfred now is saying really isn't valid, and we don't really know about David Ortiz, but we definitely know about these other guys. Here's what I know. It's called the Steroid Era. It's an era. Are we punishing guys who played in the segregated era when only white people were allowed to play in Major League Baseball? No. There's a ton of guys that are in Major League Baseball in Cooperstown that played in that era. This was an era of baseball. I don't think I've ever moved more on an issue than going from, at one point I'd say Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, they have no place in the Hall of Fame, to let them all in, because they were still the greatest. Some of the greatest at their positions. And someone explain to me how Curt Schilling's not a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. Explain this to me. People don't like him because of a tweet? Is that what it is? Can anyone explain to me how he's not in?
Likability has a big
Well,
part of
this is what bothers me about writers, that their job is to, okay, you're taking character into it and all that, whatever. But too often it gets to, I don't like this guy. I read Jason Stark from The Athletic and said, when you call the media, you call writers a bunch of spineless cowards, the way Curt Schilling did, and he said, take my name off the ballot. That's a surefire way to make sure they don't vote for you anymore. Well, these same writers, I bet if we went through and saw something they wrote about Curt Schilling, these are cynics. They are writing bad things about these players that are in the Hall of Fame. So is it okay for them to do that and then a player to call them out and call them a bad name and insult them? And so, well, now I've got the ultimate card to play, and I'm not going to let you in this club.
Well, if you say take my name off the ballot, I'm not voting.
Well, he should have been voted in before that. The problem was he knew this was coming, the way it was trending before that. And they didn't vote on him because they don't like him. That's the best I can see.
I think it was actually trending all right.
Well, he finished at 63%, I think. The year before, 68. Like, he was close. It was close to 70.
If I'm at 68 and I have one more year, I'm going to take my shot.
You know who else is close is Bonds and Clemens.
It bothers me when you just know. Like, there's no debate. There's no debate with these guys as players. I mean, you could debate all day about them as people or how they treat the media or how they were with their teammates. I don't know, but my childhood is Barry Bonds and Curt Schilling and Roger Clemens being dominant and names you actually knew. Now in a sport that, quite frankly, doesn't have enough names everyone knows.
Well, I don't think...
And these are names everyone knows. Put them in.
I think you're too quick to go to the writers. Not all of them are doing a great job. But the rule says to consider this stuff. So they're doing what they're asked. Now, do you want them to follow the rule that of the privilege that they're given, or you want them to be rebels against the rule? It says to consider the character stuff.